What's up everyone, Andrew Baena here, and on today's video we are going to be taking a look at one of the newest 8-string guitars from Ibanez. This is the Ibanez RGDMS8, so it's the RGD body style, multi-scale, and an 8-string. Before we get on to the full demo mix, I just want to mention that this guitar was sent to me by Ibanez Guitars, but as always, all thoughts and opinions are my own. First and foremost in this video, I'm going to show you what the Ibanez RGDMS8 sounds like in a full demo mix. Then we're going to come back, talk about the specs and features of this instrument, show you a couple of soloed tone clips, and then last but not least, give my thoughts and opinions on this instrument. Real quick before we move on, I want to give a massive thank you to the sponsor of this video, Sweetwater. If you're unfamiliar with Sweetwater, they're pretty much the largest online music retailer in North America. They've been longtime supporters of my channel, have sponsored a bunch of videos, given me a bunch of awesome gear, and you can find pretty much any piece of music gear you can possibly think of over on their website, which is linked in the description and the pinned comment below. They have amazing customer support, better than pretty much any other company I've ever encountered in my entire life. Super helpful, friendly, and they can always give you advice on gear that you're thinking of buying. So if you're interested in picking up any new music gear, I would highly recommend checking out Sweetwater, and the link to their website is again in the description and the pinned comment below. It's also an affiliate link, so anything you buy using my link also directly helps to support my channel so I can keep going and making videos just like this. With that being said, let's get back to the video. So let's get on to the full demo mix. For this, I am playing one of my own songs called Bury the Hatchet. This actually sounds better than the studio version, which is on Spotify because I recorded it like 4 years ago, but I digress. We're in drop E tuning using, I think, 9 to 80 for the string gauges. It sounds like this. Okay, now that you've heard how this guitar sounds in a full demo mix, let's talk about its specs and features. So we'll start off with the body of the guitar. First and foremost, you're going to notice this beautiful matte silver finish. Some people don't like the matte silver. I personally think it looks absolutely fantastic, especially paired with the white pickups and gold hardware. I think it's a really, really cool color combination that you don't see too often on 8-string guitars especially. As I mentioned earlier, this is the RGD body style, so very similar to the RG, but it has these extra bevels there and on the upper horn, or sorry, lower horn as well. This is a multi-scale guitar, so it has these solo hardtail bridge pieces here. It has a single volume knob a coil split, and a pickup selector in terms of hardware. This guitar also has the Fishman Fluence modern 9-string pickups. We have the Alnico in the neck and the ceramic in the bridge. I know there's a little bit of confusion about this, but for a lot of companies, what they do for 8-string guitars or 7-string guitars, anything that's multi-scale or fan fret, they usually bump up the pickup to the next size up just to ensure that it's, you know, bigger than the strings, because the last thing you want is for the pickup to not be fully contacting these strings because it'll sound a lot weaker. So that's the reason why these are the 9-string pickups, not the 8-string pickups. 8-string pickups would probably be fine, but better to be safe than sorry, so they just threw the 9s in instead. The last thing to note for the body is that it is made out of Nayado. Moving on to the neck of the guitar, we have a McCoster ebony fretboard with dot inlays that are staggered, so on the bass side up to the 12th fret, and then they flip over to the treble side. We got 24 jumbo frets on that fretboard. This is a 25.5 inch to 27.2 inch scale length for the multi-scale design, so it's a tiny bit longer than the average 8-string guitar with that extra 0.2 inches. I'm not really sure why it has that little extra bit there, but hey, more scale length is never a bad thing. Flipping the guitar over on the back for the neck, we have the Wizard 3 8-string neck, of course, because it's Ibanez, and this is a 5-piece maple and walnut neck. And then on the headstock, we of course have those Goto locking tuners, again in gold, which pairs really nicely with the silver design. That's pretty much it in terms of the specs and features of this guitar. I personally think it looks absolutely fantastic, but we're going to talk more about my opinions and thoughts in a little bit. First, I'm going to show you how this guitar sounds like by itself outside of the context of a mix. So I'm going to give you a heavy high gain rhythm tone, a clean tone, and a lead tone, and all three of those sound like this. Okay, and now last but not least is to talk about my thoughts and opinions on this guitar. First and foremost, I am definitely biased. The first 8-string that I ever got in my life was from Ibanez. I actually still have it upstairs. It doesn't work anymore. But yeah, Ibanez was kind of my introduction to extended range guitars, so I always have felt very comfortable with their designs, and this one is no exception. I personally think that it looks, feels, and sounds absolutely fantastic. I personally really like the 25.5 inch to 27.2 inch scale length. I didn't really notice a difference with that extra 0.2 inches. It's pretty minuscule, but it's nice that it's there because having a little bit longer scale length on the bass side is usually a good thing. I'm usually fine with 27, but I guess, you know, that extra bit can't hurt, like I said earlier. I personally really like the combination of hardware with gold hardware and then the silver matte body style and the white pickups with the white headstock logo. I think it all just comes together really nicely to make a really cool design. The first negative point, though, I will say, is that it is very bizarre that they didn't keep it uniform. Like, I don't know why this is gold, and then the tuners are gold, but then for some reason the pickup switch is like chrome, and then the coil tap switch is like, I forgot what this is called, but it's like a black chrome. So I don't really know why they didn't just make everything gold. That is a little bit weird in my opinion. Just a small aesthetic thing that kind of bothers me a little bit, but you know, it doesn't affect anything. One of the other things I was going to mention as well is if you get this guitar, I would plan to get new strings with it basically immediately. There might be some people out there that like having a 65 for a low F string. In my opinion, that is way too light. And as you know, I hate talking about string gauges, so that's how much that bothered me. Pretty much what I did is the same thing I use for all my drop E guitars. I threw on a new set of strings basically right away, which is the Ernie Ball 7-string set, which is 9 to 56, I believe. And then I threw on a single 80 string. That's what I always use for drop E on all my guitars, and that sounds way better with this and feels a lot better to play, in my opinion. Some people might like a 65, like Jason Richardson or something like that, but I personally could not stand it. So I would plan to get on new strings if you're getting this guitar, in my opinion. The only other thing that I can think of that I wasn't a huge fan of is this little extra part of the headstock. This is something that a few people in the comments have pointed out as well. I don't really know why this is there. The only reason I can think of why that might be there is just like a, you know, a cost-saving measure, because it looks a little bizarre that the fretboard goes past the nut. I don't think that looks great, but I know that there's a bunch of brands that do it this way, so it must just be like some kind of factory restriction or something like that. I think it would look way better if they got rid of this excess piece here, or at least like painted it silver to match the rest of the headstock or something like that. But again, small thing that might bother some people, other people might not care, just pointing it out. As for the feel of this guitar, I think everything feels absolutely fantastic. The neck is nice and smooth, it has that satin finish. I also really like the satin finish on the silver, like I was saying earlier, giving it that matte look. I think everything about it looks, feels, and sounds great. The fret edges all feel really good as well. It's a joy to play. The only small thing I noticed with the finish is there's like a tiny bit of overspray right there, again on that excess nut piece where you can see a tiny bit of silver went over. Not the end of the world, but it's definitely a little bit noticeable, and once you realize it, you can definitely see it. But with that being said, definitely way more good than bad with this guitar. The price point that it comes in at is also really good, in my opinion. There was a little bit of a period of time where I thought Ibanez's prices were getting a little crazy, and I don't know what they did, but for some reason they've come back down in price again to a price that I think is pretty appropriate for this model in particular, which I believe retails for $1,200 US. Let me double check on that. So yeah, at $1,200 US for this guitar, I think that that is a fantastic price. Ibanez has had other 8-string guitars that are way more expensive than this, and I'm not sure why. I think this one is priced like exactly right, if not competitively right. I honestly would have expected this to cost a little bit more when I first saw the specs and features, and I'm pretty pleasantly surprised that it's only $1,200. I know that's not cheap, but for what it is, I think that's a pretty fair price. Anyways, that's pretty much all I have to say for this video. Like I said, I might be a little bit biased because I have a kind of a long history with Ibanez, and obviously I'm a little bit excited that I get to work with them finally on my channel. It's really cool that they're willing to send me their guitars and have me demo them. Trust me that I know what I'm talking about. I mean, I might have a couple of other 8-string guitars, so I might have a bit of knowledge about this subject, you know? But yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say. Again, big thank you to Ibanez for sponsoring this video and sending over the guitar. Much appreciated. Also, if you're interested in grabbing guitar tabs, stems, audio downloads, or a shout out on the screen like these lovely people here, you can find all of that over on my Patreon page, which is linked in the description below. That's pretty much all I gotta say. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know what you think about this guitar in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.